All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to BizTalk, presented by your South Windsor Chamber of Commerce. Hosting today's episode, I'm Vasant Kinkuriam, along with James Babcock, and I'll introduce our guests in just a few minutes. Today's episode is sponsored by Crystal Financial Insurance Services, providing insurance and educational services to individuals, families, and businesses across Connecticut. To learn more, check out www.crystalfinancialinsurance.com. So today's guests, Kim Morrison and Noelle Alix, are co-founders of BeanZ Co, a for-profit coffee cafe located in Avon, Connecticut, providing inclusive employment to those with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities. Their mission? To expand awareness of the 80% unemployment rate of individuals in the IDD community and to promote inclusive workforce everywhere. Welcome, Kim and Noelle.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hi, everyone.
So can you first tell us, to our viewers and listeners, what does having an intellectual and developmental disability actually mean?
Sure. So I'm Noelle. I'm Noelle Alix. I co-founded BeanZ with my partner, Kim. By day, I'm a lawyer. And Kim and I both have daughters with Down syndrome who are 23 and 24 years old now. Before I had Kate, I did not know really much about intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities. Essentially, what it means is just that an individual who's been diagnosed with an intellectual and developmental disability means that they learn a little bit different, maybe at a different pace, need some assistance with cognitive, or they may have some limitations in cognitive skills, adaptation skills, sometimes social skills. An example of an intellectual and developmental disability, which for purposes of our talk today, we'll call it IDD, could be Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome. Some individuals on the autism spectrum would qualify as having an IDD. Sometimes intellectual and developmental disabilities can come with a physical disability. Sometimes people with cerebral palsy can have a physical limitation, some do not also have a cognitive limitation. Essentially, what it means is that you learn a little differently, that it may take you a little bit longer to learn. And anything else I'm forgetting?
No.
The most important thing, though, that we'd like to tell you about people with intellectual and developmental disabilities is that first and foremost, they are people first. And there's this concept, and I hope society in general uses it, but in particular in the special needs community, it's people first language. So you wouldn't refer to someone, for instance, as the Down syndrome boy, or for instance, the autistic woman. It would be Heather, who has autism, or the young man who happens to have Down syndrome. They are people first and foremost. And it could be, Noelle, who has blonde hair. The idea being, you don't define someone by their ability or disability. They are the person first. So I think in the special needs community, that's pretty much how it works. And we hope society as a whole as well adopts that for all people, not just people with disabilities.
Now, you mentioned, we talked a little bit about a startling statistic, right? And I just can't get over it every time I hear it, right? Those with intellectual and disabilities, intellectual and developmental disabilities, as we're going to call it IDD now, it's quite a mouthful. There's an unemployment rate of 80%. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, that's why we're here today, is to talk about that staggering statistic that was part of our TED Talk as well. And we believe that there's such a large part of the population that does not have any idea that this statistic is out there. We've come so far in our education system where there's been such a great inclusion program in the schools. We've taught our kids the teachers and the education system have taught our kids life skills and academic skills and social skills. For what? So they go through their school career maybe onto a transition academy, which is fantastic. Both of our girls were lucky enough to be able to do that up until age 21. And they teach them, and when they reach that point, they're learning more in the job and life skills department. But for what? To come into a society that does not hire them, or that perceives them as not being able to work, if they know anything at all about this problem, which we truly believe that most people are uneducated about that statistic.
Yeah, unless you're in the special needs community, you may not be aware that there is a statistic. It's that 80%, and we believe that number is probably higher in all reality, that 80% of adults with an intellectual and developmental disability are unemployed or underemployed. Imagine, it is staggering. So we spend all this effort and time in our education system, in particular here in Connecticut, where inclusion is hopefully more than norm. Inclusion meaning the student with an IDD is educated in a typical setting as much as possible, then going on to job training and independent skills, as Kim said, in a transition from 18 to 21. But for the rest of the students, they graduate from high school, they go on to a job or college, and these students go on to face, honestly, an abyss. Really, just no work, no potential employment opportunities. And I think the reason that might be is that, 20, 30 years ago, people didn't know that individuals with IDD could learn and could work and had the skills. I think we've come so far, and our education system has certainly come along and brought our students there, but our commercial work world hasn't moved along like that. Maybe because when Kim and I went to school, it was a different time. We weren't educated in classrooms with students with IDD. So people our age, who maybe are the current employers, if we were not in the special needs community, maybe we wouldn't know that these individuals were more than capable of working and could work. So that could be possibly the reason for still to face this unemployment statistic, but it's a terrible number.
And I can probably also imagine that with COVID, with businesses closing down, that it probably has even made it worse, right? So that 80%, for at least for current times, might even be an understatement.
Well, that's absolutely true. Even for BeanZ Company, our number of employees that we hire had to decline a little bit just because the business wasn't there. Being a for-profit business, which is a little bit different, and you have to be really aware of payroll and costs. They did end up losing some hours, so that is the harsh reality that we're facing right now. Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned, transition programs, right? Let's talk a little bit about educational background. So those, individuals who have IDD, can you tell us a little about education, skill training, what's involved in sort of preparing for the workforce?
Sure. So I guess I would equate individuals with IDD similar to how you would equate any other student. You have some students who are in, say in high school, your general academic classes. There are some maybe who are in honors, some who are in advanced placement. So just like any other student, individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities come in all ranges and sizes. So the premise of inclusion is that to the extent capable, all students should be educated with their peers. Sometimes that means they're in the classroom, a typical classroom part of the day, and then receive special education services, maybe reading, writing, mathematics, with a special education teacher. Sometimes that's not needed. In the high school, there is this general feeling of introducing high school students with IDD to job skills training, whether in the high school or outside of the high school, in different commercial businesses that participate in those kind of programs. And then when you have an intellectual and developmental disability, there's a federal law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And it requires students to be eligible for services until education services till the ages of 21. So we're lucky in Connecticut that we have many transition programs. Some are housed on a high school campus, some are housed at college campuses, Quinnipiac, University of Hartford. Oh gosh, there's many. And the focus of those transition programs is independent skills and job training. So many of those students go out into the commercial world with job coaches to learn different employment skills. And then there's also a program, another educational program for students with IDD that has expanded in Connecticut recently called Project Search. I believe there is a new Project Search site, I want to say in Manchester. There is one at UConn Health, one that was starting up at Voya Financial Services. That is also a transition type program, but a very, robust job training program for individuals between 18 and 24 to get them ready for the work world.
So what might you say to a business owner who's concerned that hiring someone with an IDD might be, maybe the socially conscious thing to do, but it may be too difficult or too costly?
I would say, the first thing they probably want to do is open their mind a little bit and, think about jobs within their four walls that somebody could do. And what we did with BeanZ, we wrote up a job description of what we were looking for. You have to have the job before you have the person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like we've said in some of our talks, like if you're putting the person into the right job, they will be successful. Just like anyone, right? Just like you and me and Noelle, we're in the right job, we're going to be successful. This is not anything different. But if you have a job description, and you contact your local agency, like in South Windsor, it'd be Mark, where we have FAVAR. What we did is we had this job description, we gave it to them, and they came up with candidates that they thought would fit that job description. And it worked out beautifully. And we went through the hiring, through the interview process, just like everybody else, calling references, just like everyone else. You may have to adjust your interview questions a little bit. But, I think the first thing that people need to do is, what kind of jobs are available within your company that you think people can do, and then reach out to your local agencies.
And sorry. And I think it's important just to note, it doesn't have to, full-time jobs are great for people who can do full-time jobs, but you're talking about a population that has no opportunity for jobs. So say, part-time, it could be anywhere from, 8 hours a week to 40 hours a week, where anything to make a dent in this, this unemployment rate for people.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's looking at things a little bit differently. So you're not looking to put somebody in a position of an admin assistant, right? Because that's probably not going to set them up to succeed. And to be able to find a job that's a 4-hour shift versus an 8-hour shift, because stamina is a issue among many adults with intellectual disabilities. So that's our model as far as how many hours they work at once, and it's really been successful.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience as inclusive employers? What benefits as a business and challenges have you seen?
Well, if you have all day, that would be great, because we could go on and on and on about everything that's happened since we've opened BeanZ. Let me just back up a little bit. Before BeanZ was BeanZ, my husband and I own New England Pasta Company, and we had a cafe. And as we were getting ready to sign another, long-term lease, we were looking at all aspects of our business, what wasn't working, what was working, and it was pretty blatantly clear that our cafe was underperforming. And so we knew we needed to do something. We didn't know what that was. It didn't come to us, like that. But when I was talking to Noelle about it, it really just, the light bulb went off. Our girls were reaching that time of the cliff we didn't know what we were going to do with them, what kind of jobs were going to be available out there for them. And we just started kind of brainstorming about BeanZ. So about an inclusive cafe. So we had the cafe, we had the staff, we had the inventory, we had the menu. Menu didn't change at all. It was just how you ordered and who delivered your food. Two simple tweaks that has changed everything. So we went from a cafe that was underperforming to one pre-COVID that was completely performing, and the benefits to the business, the bottom line, to the community, to the employees, to my employees that do not have special needs, are just numerous and almost too much to count. It has been such a change in the atmosphere. Like, you literally walk in and feel it. You can feel the difference from what it was before. But the benefits are, connection to community, connection to your education system and your schools and to other businesses. Watching customers come in and feel safe and feel comfortable telling their stories and giving them hope. New parents of, little kids with disabilities, like going, I have something that I can look forward to. That's been a really amazing thing that's happened.
And our employees in particular, well, the effect on all of our employees is again, I think, too large to understate, but our employees with disabilities, to see their development, their pride in having a job, they want to, nobody ever wants to call out sick. Everybody wants more hours. So to have someone who loves are coming to work every day is a pretty wonderful thing. Yeah, I think, and it does require some, effort. You have a job coach that can assist, and sometimes there's a little bit more effort, but I would say there is no question that the benefits of inclusive hiring outweigh some of those other tweaks or efforts you put in.
Are there examples of other Connecticut businesses that have successfully hired individuals with IDDs or an IDD?
Yeah, so we talk about a couple of them in our TED Talk. One of them is Dr. Jennifer Penoyer, who's a dermatologist. She has a practice and had clients who have children with or young adults with intellectual disabilities talk about how they were having a hard time finding jobs when they were done with school. And so she thought creatively, and that's exactly what we need employers to do. And she developed a position within her practice where someone would be responsible for greeting and taking the client to the room and pushing up the flag to say that they were waiting in the room for Dr. Penoyer. And she did some research and some networking with friends, and now a young man, Danny, he's actually, I think he's maybe on furlough right now because of COVID, but he has celebrated his 5-year work anniversary there and has made quite a difference in the fabric of that particular business.
Yeah, there's Vincent Hoke, a large advertising agency.
Right in Avon.
Right in Avon here. They have an extraordinary story. There is Voya Financial, who is adopting a program like a larger company like Voya, Pfizer, that focused on adults with IDD who would do really well in laboratory type tasks, people that are very attention to detail focused. So there's, local pizza places. I mean, it starts with local businesses, really. I mean, that is what we believe, to create jobs for people that live within your community.
And I think too, like, it's really important for people to know, like, they may know the BeanZ story and where our business model is 50-50 inclusive employment, where there's 50% with and 50% without. That's not what has to happen, and that's not what we're asking people to do. You hire one person, like one person at Vincent Hoke, she has changed the company. One person is a success and is a win for everybody.
Yeah, we often, we did a talk, I'm not sure where, I think it might have been at the Capitol, or I can't remember where, but I had said to some individuals, think about where you go through your day, say pre-COVID, when we actually left our homes and went to work and went places. And if you could go through your day, how many times did you come across someone with IDD working? If you think about it, where have you seen them? Maybe a grocery store, that's usually the first answer. And outside of that, it's pretty hard to think of a place. And that sheds light on how far we need to come.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned local, so let's make this really local now, right? So you've got businesses across South Windsor who are listening to this, and let's say that they hear it, like, you know what, we really want to do something. We want to make a dent in that 80% unemployment rate for individuals with IDD. How do they go about creating a position for someone with IDD within their company? And are there resources available, or what guidance do you have?
I mean, I guess like I said before, like if there truly is a position within their company that they think, and thinking creatively, being super small, maybe you may have to get super creative with that. Being bigger, like Avoya, which has the ability to, create more opportunities just because of their size. I think I would reach out to the local agencies and talk about and let them ask you what your needs are to see. It also could mean talking to friends and family and actually realizing you may know somebody that's looking for a job that may be a good fit for, created, in a position that you think that you could create within your business. I would also encourage them to come visit us and see it in action, because I think that it helps you see what actually can be. That we always encourage people to come sit and just watch, and it's
it's hard. It's hard not to be impacted by it. I think Kim's right though. Think about as a local business. Think about what your business needs are first. What are there any tasks? Are there any jobs that maybe you want to fill or get done? Would they be, adaptable? And think a little creatively of maybe instead of thinking of someone 30 hours a week, is there a job that could be done, by someone
if they're working twice a week,
twice a week or 3 times a week?
Right.
The impact you're having on that individual to hire them is just so large. And your company is changed for the better by it. So I would start with what your needs are within your business. The Manchester ARC, I think the acronym is MARC. They are a great place to start. They also probably are aware of the project search programs that might be out of, I think they are run out of MARC. The 1 or 2 new project search programs, which I mentioned, are these national job training programs for individuals with IDD. I would start there, talk to your friends, your neighbor. I'm sure when you bring up this conversation, you'll be surprised at how many people know someone whose child or family member has been in this position as an adult with no opportunities for work.
Awesome. Well, this was very, very, very enlightening. And so Noelle and Kim, thank you so much for what you're doing, what you're doing to support the IDD community, as well as educating all local businesses as to what they can do to help. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome. Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really where it starts is really with local businesses. We can't rely on the government, or most of us are employed at a smaller business. Yeah. So it is the place to start. So thank you for listening.
Awesome. And to our viewers and listeners today, thank you for joining us on today's episode of BizTalk, once again sponsored by Crystal Financial Insurance Services and hosted by the South Windsor Chamber of Commerce. To make an appointment with Crystal Financial, you can call the office at 860-436-9522, or to learn more, check out their website at www.crystalfinancialinsurance.com. Have a great day.